In the beginning of the year, around this time where we're making He Is, um, there's some real changes that are happening in my life that are starting to tug at that question of, there's a possibility that where you want to go with what you want to have with your talent, with your passion for music, might not be a reality if you really want to live life. If you really want to continue forward, can you trust that the future that God has for you is better than the one that you can make up yourself?
All right. So you can start just introducing yourself, who you are, what you do.
Igama lami uManelisi Mdaka. I come from a small town called Ermelo. I don't know if it's small anymore, but I think most people in Pretoria would consider that small. Loving beautiful space. And I currently live here in Pretoria. I'm a worship leader, have the privilege of leading worship. One of the testimonies that is in progress now is probably the first time I've had to deal with an internal turmoil with regards to my own faith and what that looks like. And I blame it on God because He likes taking us deeper and He wouldn't leave us into a surface level of faith. And when God starts digging at the deep core recesses of who you are, it's a bit difficult, especially when He's trying to dethrone some things. So where I am now began a year ago around this time, where God asked me a real question. I think two of the biggest questions that are tugging at my core in ways that I cannot imagine. The first was, would you trust me if it would cost you everything you'd ever dreamed of? And the second was, would you trust me if it would change you? And I remember it's the first time in my life where I feel like the answer to those two questions is no. And this is despite seeing Him move in my life in so many ways. And I have a certain desire for my future and what I want to fulfill when it comes to my passions and wanting to make that a reality. And over time found myself making that a core of my identity, a core of my creation and purpose in this life. And God has been challenging that in crazy ways. And it's been small drips over time. But last year, He just stopped playing games. Um, and He started getting serious, right? And I was like, yo, you didn't have to go so hard, you know what I mean? But then He asked that question. He said, Manelisi, would you trust me if it would cost you everything you ever dreamed of? Would you be willing to lay that down and trust that what I have for you is good? And I answered Him and I said no. And I was challenged with the fact that there was no way I could manufacture a yes in my heart for those questions. And that was scary and is scary for me. He consoles me when He says that the Spirit is going to do the work. If we look at Ephesians 1 and Ephesians 3, that it is the Spirit who will bring that kind of transformation in my heart, and I just have to posture myself and surrender. And that has been a very difficult process. And in the beginning of the year, around this time where we're making He Is, there's some real changes that are happening in my life that are starting to tug at that question of, there's a possibility that where you want to go with what you want to have with your talent, with your passion for music, might not be a reality if you really want to live life. If you really want to continue forward, can you trust that the future that God has for you is better than the one that you can make up yourself? And those changes started making that question even more real. And I found myself white knuckling. And as I'm white knuckling, my heart is breaking because then I'm telling God, I don't trust you. and and I really felt like a fraud. I really felt like I was a person who did not recognize who God is or who God has been in his life. Then I get a text message. Manelisi, won't you come into studio? We want to demo your voice. We want to demo your voice for the song that we're doing. It's Marissa on the other line, and she's inviting me to do He Is. Cannot tell you how much I felt like I'm the wrong person for this song, especially I think she sent me a little demo where they were so that I could get my mind prepared for it. And I just kept on going into the studio being like, and I remember just seeing her sitting there and explaining the heart. And you can see there's an excitement in Marissa's face because God has been so good. She has experienced his kindness. I've been a witness to the kindness of God in her life. And some of the things that she has shared and seeing God move in miraculous ways and in the things that she's trusted God for. And one of the key lines that she once said at a women's conference was, God is so kind, and all I can see is his kindness through all of this. And that was just, I want to celebrate that. And I'm like, in my head, should I tell Marissa that I'm not there? I don't trust God at all. I don't believe he can carry me through this. And now I'm supposed to sing, that he's a father, provider, protector, my hope and my anchor when the storm is raging. I'm supposed to sing all of those things convincingly. Oh, my word. Let me honor this as much as I can where I'm at. The more I lean into it, the more I saw God in his presence. One of the things that I didn't think God would do in me rejecting him in terms of trust was him staying and him pursuing me with grace and intention. I thought he was going to be like, I'm going to wait for you to sort yourself out because I know I'm the real deal. Yeah, I know what I got. God is not insecure that he would leave us alone to believe our own lies about him. He will sit with us and reveal himself. Creating the song with Marissa was an opportunity for God to say, I need you to remember me. So I would go, I would sing, I would shout, I'd be energetic, and then leave the studio and then have to ponder on the way home about the things that I've just sung and mull that over in my head. He is a hope. He is an anchor. The storm is raging. He is my friend. He's a good shepherd. I have to mull over these lyrics in my mind and try and build a level of trust. And he says, I just need you to remember me. I don't need you to be at the place where you can recognize the truth about me, because the truth about me is beyond what you experience now. And I want to show up with my presence. I'm not saying go into the scriptures just and then read about me. I want to show you that this is who I am and remember me. And that became the point from which I was singing that I used every opportunity we had in contact with that song to remember God. Whether we're shooting the music video, I wasn't at the greatest of spaces then either. And I just used every take we took to remember him and to respond. It was cooler in the music video to do it with people as well. Some stories that I knew, seeing them around me, seeing people remember who he is. Even now, as we're going from radio interview to radio interview, I'm just struck by who he is. And it's challenging, and the Spirit is doing the work of changing my heart into being more trusting of him, as it's something I cannot manufacture. But what I can do the best of is to posture myself beside him, to abide in him, to remember him, and then allow what I know of him to change me. Because once we've put our faith in who he is, how we live our life is different. It changes. And when we find ourselves in moments of unbelief, there is something about him that we're not grasping onto. And that's not a moment to feel like a failure. He wants to create that moment so that you may discover what it is about him he wants you to grab onto with both hands, not just one. And I've been for the most of my life grabbing onto him with one hand. You handle the things that I can't. I'll trust you for the things that I can't. But with the things that I can, I won't. And he's like, that's a divided heart, son. I'm not going to allow that. You need to fully surrender to me. And I think it's still ongoing. And he's using as many players as possible to challenge that in me. I hope it comes out at the end of the day to his glory. I know it will. I know it will. Yeah.